all, this is our first meeting in the new year, in the year 2025. Welcome all of our members who participate in this presentation today. Happy New Year to all of us. I really feel very excited that we have Joe Kissell, our long-term friend and partner, as our first speaker of the year. Maybe this is an interesting logistical problem that we made a promise, and let me first talk about that. We, Naples MUG, have been in existence for from several decades. We were originally, I'm sorry for the interruption. I was going to talk about Naples MUG, that we started as a typical AUG or NMUG in Naples, Florida, with many snowbirds. And then the pandemic hit us, and we were fortunate enough to have ready the Zoom software, and we were able to continue our meetings. And our snowbirds in the north were so excited that they could all of a sudden participate in actual meetings. While before that they had to rely upon videos that they had to watch much later. All of a sudden, our organization became some kind of a drift forward and grew. While all other companies were shrinking, we succeeded and became very successful. And as the snowbirds spread the gospel, and we became a North American organization, eventually a worldwide organization. And we are still very vibrant. We're very successful. We have, I think, sort of taken on professional measures. We try to get the best speakers that are available in the industry, both for our weekly meetings and as well as for our 10 classes that we conduct every year. We are vibrant, we are financially very successful, and it's really fun to be part of this organization. And so, because it's a new year and we feel so strong, we had the idea all of a sudden, when Joe talks to us, he doesn't only talks to us, he also normally leaves something with us. And that's normally a book which deals with the topic of his presentation. So we had the idea, while he normally does that for our classes, and while we pay him but make the books available for no fee to our class participants or registrants, we felt today, because it's New Year and we're all in tremendous shape and in good nature and good spirit, we make our audience a gift today and give them the book on Take Control on Passwords and Passkeys. We will have a small logistical problem because we had expected to distribute the book during the presentation today, but I'm sure we'll overcome that very quickly. But as Sheila already pointed out, we do need an exact list of participants today. And so make sure that you show your full name so that we can then look up your email address and send you the book when it becomes ready. But a first name will just not do it, a phone number will not do it. So please make sure in your own interest that you show your full name on the participants list. With that, I think I've said enough. I'm so happy to see Joe, our good old friend and partner. And I'd like the next person would be Mike to make some additional opening remarks regarding this meeting and the forthcoming meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eckhart. Before I start sharing my screen, I've just rattled through the participants list, and we do have one member calling themselves Zoom user, which is as much use to us as a slightly moldy lettuce leaf, because we will not know where to send your book. So please identify yourself before the meeting is over. Whoever is calling themselves Zoom user. Allow me to share my screen. As usual, I just have a handful of notices before we pass the meeting to Joe. As ever, last year, I've created a new thread on our message board for today's meeting. So if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make about the meeting after the event, please use that particular thread.
All right. Can we also stop unmuting your mic? Thank you.
Thanks, Sheeta. You all know this by now, but our 2025 classes now are up and running. We had a fantastic session with Sheeta last Saturday. Much more to come. And this Saturday, Christian is with us talking about iOS 18 and new features and devices, indeed. And I can't wait for this. It's a stunning speaker. If you haven't already booked, if you own an iPhone, you owe it to yourself to book yourself into this class. So that's this Saturday. Next week's meeting, David Abramowitz is with us talking about, I just need to throw the participants list out the way to read this. So this is interesting. Join us as David talks about vulnerabilities in our home networks, which is certainly something I've not given much thought to, and how we're providing ways for attackers to infiltrate without knowing it. So probably quite an essential meeting for all of us. And that's same time, same place next week. Today's meeting is, of course, with Joe. Joe, a Happy New Year and welcome. I will just pass the meeting now to Sheeta to just talk about questions and to introduce Joe. All yours, Sheeta. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Joe, do you want everyone to hold their questions until you're done or intersperse questions?
Yes, please hold questions until the end. I usually find that most of the questions people ask, I will answer during the course of the presentation anyway, but we'll have a time at the end for questions and answers.
All right, wonderful. All right, everyone, you heard the man. So please put your questions in the chat. I will make sure we get to your questions at the end. And with that, Joe, we welcome you and Happy New Year. All yours.
Happy New Year. To all of you, nice to be here once again. Let me share my screen. Boy, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right into it. Now, I have this book that you will all get, and I apologize for making everyone's life more difficult. I seem to be doing that a lot lately. It is unintentional. But we will get this book in your hands very soon. Take control of your passwords. So this presentation is kind of derived from that book. Of course, the book is a lot longer than what I could possibly cover in an hour. So if you want the full details, I'll refer you to that. But let's get started. I like to tell people, when an author is pitching a new book to write, perhaps, or one of our customers is saying, why don't you do a book on such and such? I like to tell people that our best-selling books are the ones that you can tell just from the title that it solves a problem you already have. So when I say take control of your passwords, everybody's like, oh yeah, well, I know, of course, everybody knows I have a password problem. And so this has been a fairly popular book for exactly that reason, that even in 2025, even with all the advances that have happened, a lot of people still find passwords make their lives miserable. So the basic problem looks like this. Passwords are annoying. All right, we get that. And so because they're annoying, lots of people, again, even in 2025, even after so many books and articles and websites and things, a lot of people take the easy way out. And by the easy way, that might mean a single password that you use everywhere, or making all of your passwords individually super simple, or a couple of other things we'll talk about. You take the easy way out. Unfortunately, the easy way is not a secure way. The easy way, as I will tell you about in a minute, can lead to some very, very big problems for you. So there is an easy way to take care of your passwords. It just might not be the way you think you're going to take care of them. So the big news over the last couple of years has been passkeys. Passkeys are now a part of Mac OS, iOS, iPadOS, but also they're in Windows. Also, they're in Android. So what everybody's been talking about is, oh, well, now there's this new thing that's going to eliminate this problem. They're a replacement for passwords. We're finally going to kill the password. And there's no longer anything to come up with. You don't have to create a passkey the way you create a password. Nothing to remember. There's nothing to type. It just kind of happens. All you do is, a site says time to log in. You're like, okay, well, here's my fingerprint or my face, and problem solved. So that is what is supposed to be happening. And not only are passkeys easier to use, but they're much more secure than passwords. What's not to like? Well, passkeys are a great idea, and I'm going to spend a whole segment of this presentation talking about them, but they're not quite all that quite yet. So, spoiler, they are there and they can be helpful, but they're not quite a solution yet. So, back to passwords. I want to talk today mostly about 3 big mistakes people make when it comes to passwords. First one, which I alluded to before, is choosing guessable passwords. So I'm not just talking about using the word password as your password, or your name or your dog's name or some other obvious thing. I'm not merely talking about the sort of thing where if somebody wanted to break into your account and they knew anything about you, they would guess one of these passwords. I'm talking about something that a computer could guess. That makes it a lot more challenging to not come up with one of those passwords. So guessable passwords are the first problem. Second problem is whether or not you have a guessable password. Even if you have like the longest, strongest, most random, most wonderful password in the world, using the same password in multiple places is going to cause problems. And the third mistake I want to talk about today is assuming, well, it's one or the other, right? Either I do something that's easy and that I can manage, or I improve my security by doing something really, really difficult and painful. And that's not true. So let's talk about guessability first. I just looked up the worst passwords of 2024. Now, there are lots of lists of these, and they're updated every year. This happens to be the top 25 worst passwords of 2024. Now, this list goes on and on and on. I just picked out the first 25 because I'll fit on a slide. These are, again, still at this point in history, passwords that millions and millions of people use. And just because you don't see the word baseball or football on this list, yeah, it's just a little bit lower. It's still there, right? These are passwords that people use because they're easy to type, easy to remember, and they just don't want to bother. Site says, come up with a new password. There's like, okay, well, let's QWERTY. Oh, no, you have to add a number. All right, well, then QWERTY1. So a lot of people do these kinds of things, and this is really bad. Now, a common word, a name, or something you might find in a dictionary is obviously going to be easy to guess. Even if you add a number on the beginning or the end or somewhere else, that's easy to guess. You might think, well, I'll be really smart and I'll replace some letters with numbers that kind of look like those letters. Yeah, that's not going to help either. That's still easily guessed. Keyboard patterns, easy to guess. And, quotes, names. There are so many kinds of things that people tend to use because they're easy and memorable that are nevertheless very easy to guess. And as I mentioned a moment ago, it's not just that some guy in, a dark hoodie hunched over a keyboard is going to say, well, I think maybe his password is the name of his dog. I mean, I guess that could happen, but we're not really talking so much about people guessing your passwords as computers, all right? And computers, yeah, especially the more recent ones,